Hello, everybody. It's first Tuesday of the month, and the first Tuesday of every month, I come at you with another webinar. And I want to come to you this week about chiropractic care for kids. It's back to school time. Everyone's talking about the kiddos, and so we want to take a little time out and do a little bit of presentation here about chiropractic care for kids. Those of you know that you've been in the office, you've seen lots of kids here getting chiropractic care, getting adjusted, and the benefits of chiropractic care. Some of you might wonder why they're here, what's going on. I can't believe they're actually adjusting those children. Is it safe? Was it good for them? And why do some kids come to the office? So today I'm going to talk a little bit about some of the science behind why kids come to the chiropractor. We're going to talk a little bit about the science behind two interesting topics. One is colic, the little babies that don't stop crying and they're fussy. The other one I'm going to do a deep dive into is bedwetting and some of the research with that. We're talking about other topics too. And remember, if you're watching me live right now, you can ask questions and they'll pop up on my screen. I should be able to get to them. Maybe not instantly, right? I don't want to stop mid-sentence, but I'll get to them. So first, let's dive into this topic. Yeah, you've seen lots of kids come in here and get adjusted. You've heard about people taking their kids to the chiropractor. Why are they doing that? What's going on? Do the kids really benefit from chiropractic? Well, I was born in 1975 and my father was finishing his time at Palmer College. And as soon as I came home from the hospital, the next stop was to the college where Dr. Strang adjusted me. And what's cool is Dr. Strang was the president of Palmer when I started. So I got to get lectured by the chiropractor that gave me my first adjustment. My dad was still a student. I don't think, he was at the time was an adjusted newborn yet, but Dr. Strang gave me my first adjustment. So it's kind of fun. We gave a lot of adjustments at school, gave a lot of adjustments here in the office. So let's dive into the first part here. We're talking a little bit about, is chiropractic care for kids safe? There's been reports out there that maybe chiropractic care for kids isn't safe. In a lot of countries, before they'll allow chiropractors to see children, they want to make sure there's some proof of it. So let's dive into that research here real quick. There we go.
Spending 9 months growing in mum's tummy can get really cramped. Before baby is even born, the pressure they're under in mum's uterus can cause changes in the way their bones move and fuse together and can influence the shape of their skull. And then the strains baby faces during delivery, either as they pass through the birth canal or from forceps or other forms of assisted delivery, can cause injuries to baby's spines and nervous systems that doctors and parents may not be aware of. Then, once baby is born, they may have many tumbles and falls as they learn to sit, stand, crawl and walk. And as they grow, they take knocks on sports fields and they fall from jungle gyms. When you put all of this together, your baby or child can end up with problems in their spine that chiropractors call vertebral subluxations or chiropractic subluxations. One study that was published in 2015, researchers looked at 100 healthy newborn babies and tested them for a variety of problems with the way their spines and bones of their skull were moving. What the researchers found in this study was that just about all the babies they checked had a problem that may have benefited from care by a manual therapist, such as a chiropractor. Over 90% of the babies had a problem with the way their neck was moving, and even more had a problem in their lower back. But as a parent, what can you do about this? One option to consider is to take your baby or child to see a chiropractor so that they can ensure that their spine is in tip-top shape. Thousands of parents choose to do this every single day. Recently, the Victorian government in Australia held an inquiry into chiropractic care for babies and children, and they asked parents in Australia to let them know about their experiences when they took their child to a chiropractor. This is what the inquiry found. Almost 22,000 parents responded to the inquiry and told the Australian government that they had taken their child to see a chiropractor. And 99.7% of these parents reported a positive experience with the chiropractic care of their children. These parents had accessed chiropractic care for their child for a wide range of conditions and complaints, including maintaining general health and well-being. The most common conditions included postural concerns, or colic, or neck pain, or difficulty with breastfeeding, or back pain and headaches. And the overwhelming majority of parents reported that chiropractic care helped their child, with 98% of these parents indicating that their child improved after seeing the chiropractor. But what about the safety of chiropractic care for kids and babies? A question chiropractors are often asked is whether chiropractic care is safe for children and babies. This inquiry in Victoria had a very big focus on safety, and what they found was that through their extensive search, they identified very little evidence of patient harm occurring in Australia. In particular, there was no patient complaints or practitioner notifications that arose from significant harm to a child following spinal manipulation. This is backed up by research studies that have also found that chiropractic care for children and infants is very safe and rarely associated with adverse events. These studies have found that when an adverse event relating to chiropractic care for children or babies is reported, they tend to be very short periods of muscle soreness after an adjustment that goes away by itself. So the research evidence is clear that when a thorough history and exam is taken and appropriate techniques are chosen, parents can be confident that their child truly is in safe hands with their chiropractor. So make sure your child's spine is in tip-top shape and give them the best possible start in life by taking them to see your family chiropractor.
All right, so let me break that down to our clinical setting now. Our clinic's been open since 1949. We've been taking care of kids since day one. So we've seen kids in here all the time. When I graduated school, I got to come work here in this office with my father and two other doctors, both with 25 years plus experience. So I got a lot of training, a lot of neat information from them. And so I have I've seen a lot of things and I was taught a lot of things before I got here. That information has been passed down to Dr. Hayes, Dr. Bourbon, and Dr. Dace. So they've seen all that too. I know Dr. Dace, when he was in school, he'd always come down here and hang out on the weekends because the weekends is when we saw the most kids. So you get more hands-on getting kids experience. When I was at Palmer, and we're all at Palmer, we take a class on pediatric adjusting. I was lucky enough to have Dr. Maxine McMullen, one of the #1 pediatric chiropractors of all time. And she worked with me a lot with the kids. And I was also blessed to have my stepbrother's son, who was a little toddler then. So I get to take care of him with all the top pediatric chiropractors in the student clinic. Dr. Hayes, he's got kids. He adjusted them with the doctors up there. Dr. Bourbon did too. Dr. Dace doesn't have his own kids yet. But like I said, he's always jumping in the room. We're taking care of kids that get a hands-on experience. So as far as clinical hours and seeing kids, we've had tons of them. Now, back in 2014, a lot of you know that I had a severe elbow injury. I damaged my elbow really, really bad. Had to have a big time surgery, plates and everything put in. Well, I couldn't work during that time, and my friend did my surgery, Dr. Ed Swartz, over at Rockford Ortho, Illinois. Good friend of mine. And he had a similar injury at one time, and he gave me really good advice. He said, "Go back to school, go back and learn something because you can't see patients." So that's what I did. I did a whole 18 months of taking classes on adjusting newborns and kids and all different things. And as far as research for chiropractic kids, I'm the Illinois guy for our national association called the ICA. And in order to get your pediatric certification in this group, you have to write a paper and you have to have that paper published. So we actually have our own journal of scientific research done on kids and kids for chiropractic care. Because of this requirement of having to, before you get your pediatrics paperwork, you have to write a paper. Pediatric chiropractic is one of the most heavily rated topics in all of our field. I mean, lower back pain is a lot of those, but the pediatrics actually might have more. And then lastly, the other ones have research projects too. And I was involved in some of those research projects. Some of you might have been in here. We were filling out paperwork. So is chiropractic safe for kids? Well, there's been so much research and so much evidence on it, big time. And in the video, they talked about the side effects, saying that some of the kids might have some muscle soreness and aches. Those are usually our kids that don't do a good job sitting still on the table. They're the ones that wiggle around and tighten up and move on us. So even if you're an adult, you tried that, you might have some muscle soreness the next day. But the more experience we have with kids, the less of that we get. And as a father of 4 kids and having adjusted hundreds and hundreds of kids. I don't see that often. So if you have questions about the safety like that before we start, let us know. Come in and talk to us. But now I told you about some of those research papers. Let's dive into some of those topics. I'm going to start off with the younger ones first and go to the older ones. And the first one I'm going to talk about is colic. Colic is the babies that keep crying and fussing, have a hard time eating. They're just miserable. They want to tell you what's wrong with them, but they can't talk yet. So as chiropractors, we do really good with these kids. I've had a lot of success personally seeing patients with this, little guys with this, little kids with this. So I'm going to show you the research here, and I'm going to break it down afterwards like we usually do. So here we go. Let's have Dr. Havoc jump in.
When you are making the exciting preparations to meet your new baby, most parents are realistic about the fact that there'll be some tears along the way. Crying comes with the territory. But for some, the reality can be a lot more intense. 10 to 30% of all young babies suffer from infant colic, which is an unexplained condition that causes excessive crying in otherwise healthy babies. There is no known cause and few solutions. Being unable to soothe your inconsolable baby can obviously be quite distressing. Aside from being stressful, tiring, and even heartbreaking for parents, infantile colic can be a cost burden to our society in terms of healthcare resources. The good news is that there are some things that you can do to help soothe your baby. There are many studies that have shown that chiropractic care can significantly reduce periods of crying in colicky infants. Let's take a closer look at one of these studies. Conducted in the United Kingdom in 2007, the researchers wanted to find out how effective chiropractic care was for babies who were experiencing unexplained crying. 104 babies, 8 weeks old or younger, were able to participate in this study between October 2007 and November 2009 at a chiropractic teaching clinic. They were randomized into 3 groups. The first group of babies were given chiropractic care, and their parents were aware that this was happening. The second group also received chiropractic care, but their parents didn't know whether their baby was receiving care or the control intervention. And the third group didn't get checked by a chiropractic student. Instead, they received the control intervention, and their parents also didn't know whether their baby was receiving care or the control intervention. Over a 10-day period, the parents completed daily crying diaries, documenting their baby's behavior. The first and second group of babies who were receiving chiropractic care were individually examined and given gentle spinal adjustments where required and as often as needed. If we take a look at this graph, this side is the average change in crying time, measured in hours, and down here we see the number of days, so up to 10 in all. We can see here that the babies who didn't receive chiropractic care still saw a reduction in crying time by about an hour less. But now look at the babies who did receive chiropractic care. They fared significantly better, with up to 3 hours less crying time in some cases. Researchers found that both groups of babies who received chiropractic care responded equally well. We can see here that the babies who did get chiropractic care are crying on average 2 hours less each day after 10 days of care. This is a significant reduction in crying, especially for the potentially frazzled parents. Interestingly, it didn't make a difference whether the parents knew that their baby was receiving chiropractic care or the control intervention. This confirms previous studies that have also shown babies with colic respond well to chiropractic care. It means that the child's improvement is probably due to the chiropractic care itself and not parental bias or the parent placebo effect. This study found that excessively crying babies were at least 5 times as likely to cry significantly less if they received chiropractic care compared to not receiving care. So it's very likely that chiropractic care really does help babies who are suffering from colic. The chiropractic care that was given to these babies in this particular study was also performed by chiropractic students under the supervision of fully qualified chiropractors, and their care had some remarkable results and made a real difference to the families involved. So imagine what a fully qualified and experienced chiropractor could do to help you and your family.
So let's talk about colic real quick, because I see lots of kids with colic. The first thing is the frustration levels. The frustration levels are off the charts because the mom and dads are doing everything they can to help little ones, and they just know what to do. They don't know what's wrong. And that's really the frustration part with colic. What's wrong? What's the issue? Tell me what it is, I'll make it better. Any parent would do that in a heartbeat for their kid. But the kid's inability to tell you what's wrong and for you to be able to figure it out, that's the struggle. And that's where other doctors struggle too. They don't really know what's going on, why the kid's crying. Well, that's the beautiful thing about chiropractic is we really don't need to know what's going on. We really don't need to know what's wrong. Because in chiropractic, all we can do is look at the spine, find the bones in the spine that need chiropractic care, and then deliver chiropractic care. Whatever happens afterwards, happens afterwards. So if the baby's having colic because their hips are off and they're having a tough time having bowels, chiropractic adjustments help that. The baby's having a hard time digesting food because there's a misalignment in the spine that could cause a change in the sympathetic tone going to the stomach and the small intestines. Chiropractors can find and adjust that. If the baby's neck's off from the birthing trauma causing headaches or other problems in the neck or shoulder area, we could find that too. And again, the baby doesn't have to tell us anything. We have specific exams and specific ways we analyze kids to see what's going on with them. That's completely objective. So we don't really need the baby to tell us anything other than what we find in our exams. So when you come over with a colicky baby or any baby with any kind of problems, I tell my parents, here's a couple of quick rules. Colicky baby, a baby that's not having bowel movements, a baby that's not eating right, or a baby that's not sleeping right. Bring them into me and let me take a look at them. I'm able to work with the pediatricians most of the time to try to stay on the same page and work together. But what we do is we just analyze these kids. And I don't care which one of those things you came in with, it's the same exam on all the kids. And we find these problems and we adjust these problems and we see if the kids get better. I'll give you an example. One way we check the hips and the lower back is what we actually do is we pull the baby's diapers down a little bit and we squeeze their cheeks together, those cheeks, not these ones. The reason we do that is because the tissues attach to bones, and as the bones move and rotate, it pulls on the tissue. So if we squeeze the cheeks together a little bit and the crack will deviate this way or that way, then we know which hip's pulling on them. We know which hip to adjust. And when we adjust the baby, we don't adjust the baby. You see here that we take care of the ice hogs, right? We don't adjust babies like the ice hogs. We use a whole different technique and a whole different style. So if you've never seen it and you're curious about it, you're in the office and you see somebody having a baby adjusted, let us know. Maybe the mom and dad don't care if you come in and watch it and see what it's like. We have a lot of our parents that are willing to let other people come in and watch the babies get checked and adjusted. So that's what we do. And the bottom line is if you come in here and you have a colicky baby, or you have a baby that's not sleeping, a baby that's not going to the bathroom, or having bowels, or a baby that's really fussing when they eat, and we analyze their spine, it's not there, you're at the wrong place. So we'll tell you at the wrong place. So there's no harm in trying chiropractic first, especially with these kids that can't sleep. And as a parent, when your kid can't sleep, it just sits long. It's struggle. We have 4, so we've been through these times, and the last 2 were twins, so that's even more fun. But yeah, if you're having these issues, let us know. But let's talk about the next thing. Let's talk about something I also see lots of kids for over the years, and that's bedwetting. This is going to talk a little bit older kids. Obviously, kids that aren't potty trained are going to have bedwetting problems. But I'm talking about the kids that can't go to sleepovers because they're worried about wetting the bed, or kids that can't have friends over because they're worried about wetting the bed. And you've tried 3 or 4 different things. You cut off the water or things like that. Nothing seems to be working. Well, we've had great success here with those kind of kids, taking a look at them, because when you go to bed, when you wet the bed, that's a nervous system problem sometimes. And when it's a nervous system problem, then chiropractors can definitely help because we access the nerves by working on the spine. So I don't want to tell you about it. I want to show you the research again. So I'm going to play another video here from Dr. Havock's research. Let her break down some of the science, and I'll tell you a little bit how we handle that here in the office. Okay, here we go.
As parents, you would have discovered that your child occasionally wet their bed at night. But usually this is something they grow out of by the time they're 5 years old. But for some kids, this does not happen. For some children, this persists, and this is known as nocturnal enuresis. Not only is this frustrating for parents, who have to change wet beds night after night, but it can also cause a host of additional problems for the suffering child. Some are devastated by their parents' disapproval, and some are teased by their siblings. Some of these children suffer greatly from low self-esteem that can have a major impact on their mental and emotional well-being. If this wasn't bad enough, many of these children struggle with their social life and miss out on sleepover parties and school camps to avoid other children finding out about their bedwetting problems. So why might chiropractic care help these children? Well, we know that gently adjusting the spine changes the way the brain perceives what's going on in the body. So improving spinal function with chiropractic care may help the brain and central nervous system to notice that the bladder is full and wake the child at night. So what does the research evidence say? Unfortunately, not a lot of research has been done yet in this area, but there are many individual cases published in the scientific literature suggesting that chiropractic care may help at least some children with their bedwetting. And in 1994, a group of researchers performed a clinical trial including 46 children who frequently wet the bed at night. They measured their bedwetting frequency for 2 weeks, and then they divided them into 2 groups. One group received 10 weeks of chiropractic care from final year chiropractic students, and the other group received a sham control intervention. They then measured their bedwetting frequency for another 2 weeks after the 10-week intervention period. So what happened after 10 weeks of chiropractic care? The researchers found that after 10 weeks, the children receiving chiropractic care had on average almost 2 more dry nights over a 2-week period. The kids who did not receive any chiropractic care had no change in the number of nights they wet the bed. This does not sound like much improvement. But when the researchers took a closer look at the results, they found that 25% of the kids who received chiropractic care actually had a 50% or more reduction in wet nights over the course of the trial. None of the control group had this type of improvement. This suggests that chiropractic care may well help at least some kids with their bedwetting, while for others it doesn't help so much. When appropriately applied, chiropractic care for children and infants is very safe and is rarely associated with adverse events. When they do occur, they invariably involve short periods of muscle soreness following an adjustment. Remember that the chiropractor isn't directly trying to treat the bedwetting. Instead, they're trying to improve spinal function with the aim of improving your child's brain's ability to process what's going on in their body. And for some kids, this seems to result in more dry nights and improved bladder control. So if you know of children suffering from bedwetting, share this information with their parents so they can try chiropractic care. We know from this study that at least some kids who wet the bed, chiropractic care really seems to help. So it's worth giving it a go, because it's not just about dry nights, but also about the child's mental and emotional and social well-being.
All right, so there's some research on chiropractic and bedwetting. I always like to show you the research before I just talk about whether or not we can do something. I like to show you the science behind it first. So what we have is we have a spine, and from the spine, nerves come on and go to different parts of the body. And what we know is that if the spine has problems, or what we call subluxation, those nerves go in the body parts act funny. They don't know how to behave. They get what they call their autonomic nervous system, the fight or flight, or the old fight or flight, the opposite, is messed up. And a lot of times going to the bathroom has a lot to do with these. And so if the child's got subluxations, misalignments of the spine in certain spots, this could create some bedwetting issues. So how do we know that this is the issue for the kids? Well, they talked about some kids got better, some kids did not. So how do we find this out? Well, we find this out by usually at this age, we can usually take an x-ray or two. We know the specific spots where those nerves come from and which x-rays it take to find those spots. Now, we're not talking about 150 x-rays. We're talking about a couple quick x-rays. And then we can see those spots. So how do we know we can help? Well, if those spots are there, we can help. If they're not, we can't. So they're talking about those who can help, those we can't help. It's real easy to tell on the x-rays. So tonight, I went over 2 different topics. I went over bedwetting and colic. There are so many more topics, so many more areas to look at, whether we're talking about ear infections, whether we're talking about sleep issues, whether we're talking about ADHD, attention problems, staying focused in class. There's just so many topics we've helped kids with. If it involves the nervous system, sometimes we can play a role. And when you come in with your child and you're curious about can chiropractic be the right thing, we here at this office, we try to find the objective findings, the ones that we can show you, hey, this is what we found. This is where the nerves go. This is what it affects. And I think under chiropractic care, we can change these nerves and affect this body part. So when you have a child and you want to know whether or not chiropractic can help them, let us know. Let us do the test. We'll find out. And if we're not the right place, we'll get you the right place. That we can promise you. But if you have a problem, you're struggling, don't struggle. Don't make this harder than this. And if you've gone to other doctors and you struck out, give us a call, look us up, check us out. If you have a topic of, like I said, some of those other things I talked about, and you want to learn more about it before you come in, that's totally cool. I'm the same way with my kids. Before we do anything, I research it up and down. But let us know. Reach out to us. Send us a message. Send us a below. And even if you're watching this, I see some people watching these videos all over the country, all over the world. Just send us a message down below here, or direct message us, and we'll get you that research. We'll let you read the science. Or sometimes we even have patients that will talk to you that they came in for their kids and the success they had. Sometimes they're willing to do that for us. Can't promise that, but sometimes they're willing to do that for us so you can hear their stories too. Next month, we're going to go the opposite spectrum on this. We talked about kids and babies today. Next month, we're going to talk about senior citizens. Senior citizens need chiropractic care too. My grandfather was one of the doctors that helped write the Medicare law. And my father went all the way to Washington, D.C. and testified on Capitol Hill in front of Congress to make sure your chiropractic benefits exist for you the way they should. And I'm currently working on a couple of Medicare bills myself. So we understand chiropractic care for seniors very good, both in the clinical setting and the legislative setting. So we're going to talk about chiropractic care for seniors, and we're going to talk about falls, right? When little kids fall, I tell them they're all cartilage. Your bones are still growing together, but it's a big deal when grandma and grandpa fall down. So we want to talk a little bit about how chiropractic can help with the falling issues and the vertigo and stuff like that. So that'll be next month. We're going to do that Saturday. We're going to do that Tuesday night, 6:30. First Tuesday of the month, we'll be right here doing it again. If you missed it, we'll be having our blog page. We'll have it everywhere. We'll share that with you. It'll also be, we never take this stuff down, so it'll always be available to you if you want to catch it later. Anything else, feel free to leave us a comment below. If there's a topic you'd like to see a whole webinar like us, do a deep dive into, go ahead and let me know. We're always looking for more topics. We got the senior citizen coming up, and we also have one on heart health. I'm going to talk a little bit about how chiropractic can affect this guy right here. Other than that, everyone stay safe out there. Have fun. Leaves are changing colors. Apples are getting ready to pick. Enjoy them all, and we'll talk to you real soon.